Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that blew up on social media recently, and maybe I'm coming a little bit late to the party, honestly, but it's all kind of panned out now. We're at a conclusion, and I think it's still worth talking about. So today I'm going to be talking about the Twitch TV Safety Council, which come under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of negative attention because of the actions of one of its members in particular. Now, right at the top of the video, and I know I don't need to say this to any of my community, any of the regulars, but it does bear repeating, we don't attack people for their identity. We don't attack people for what they do in their spare time, and we don't attack people even for having videos that you may think are objectively cringeworthy or a little bit silly. None of those things are worth attacking people over. None of those things justify bullying or harassment of any sort. I find it repellent, and that's not what my video is about. I'm not here to score cheap laughs. I'm here to have a serious discussion about the matters at hand, and I suggest if you're not, it's probably not the video for you. That also being said, it's just smart to not do that, because if you run into ideologues that are saying, oh, everyone is bullying me on the internet, when actually it's justifiable criticism, every idiot that actually abuses them on the basis that has nothing to do with the topic at hand actually discredits everyone else and makes us all look the same and makes us all look like morons and assholes. So don't do that. Don't be that person. If you're watching my videos, I urge you strongly to not be that person. I don't want to see any of those comments below. It's not what I'm about. So, with that said, let's get right into it. Let's have a look at the announcement for the Twitch Safety Advisory Council. Was made on May the 14th. And what you will start to see a lot of now is there's a lot of laws that are being brought in to sort of stop negative behavior, hateful behavior on websites, and therefore websites that operate within countries that have those laws are expected to fall in line and are expected to be able to say, hey, we take that seriously. So you're going to see a lot of companies, ones that have a public facing element, ones that offer services like live streams and videos. Everyone's going to have a safety council soon enough. You can discuss whether or not we really need that, whether or not we're becoming too soft as a society. That's a topic for another video, probably not one I'll make. Somebody will, I'm sure. But anyway, this was Twitch's turn, and Twitch has come under a lot of criticism for not protecting marginalized community members and children and just general health care for streamers, and multiple criticisms, basically, that it's not necessarily a safe environment. So something like this was inevitable. So keeping our community safe and healthy is a top priority for Twitch. Today we're excited to announce the formation of the Twitch Safety Advisory Council, which will support the growth of our community moving forward. The Safety Advisory Council will inform and guide decisions made at Twitch by contributing their experience, expertise, and belief in Twitch's mission of empowering communities to create together. So What I found amazing was, right out the bat, a lot of people thought, oh, this is just another diversity thing. It's just another diversity thing. It's actually a lot bigger than that. There were people who were saying, I had an argument on a podcast I was on recently where people were objectively saying, no, this is just for marginalized communities. It's like, no, it's not. It is literally something that is there for everyone on Twitch. And that's why it's very important to assess the suitability of the representatives and their behavior. So it's going to help with drafting new policies and policy updates. It's going to help developing products and features to improve safety and moderation of channels. It's going to promote healthy streaming and work-life balance habits. Let's not forget, Twitch has come under criticism for having like 24-hour, 48-hour charity streams. There was a terrible incident where a streamer actually passed away after doing one of these streams, and people wondered if it was linked. So that's obviously important as well. Protecting the interests of marginalized groups, there it is. It is just one facet of what this council does, and identifying emerging trends that can impact the Twitch experience. The group is composed of online safety experts and Twitch creators who have a deep understanding of Twitch, its content, and its community. When developing this council, we felt it was essential to include both experts who can provide an external perspective, as well as Twitch streamers who deeply understand creators' unique challenges and viewpoints. Each member of the council was carefully selected based on their familiarity with the Twitch community and their relevant personal and professional experiences. And then it goes on to reveal all of the names of all the people who are going to be on this council. And we are going to be talking primarily about the behavior of somebody called Ferociously Steph. Everyone else seems to have passed the initial presentation with flying colors. But this one person hasn't achieved that and has actually done a lot of things that I think are detrimental to the council, detrimental to Twitch as a whole, and unfortunately detrimental to her brand and how she's perceived among streamers and pundits like myself. Now, just before we get into that, I'll also add, this is woke capitalism is this kind of new thing that's going on where corporations that by extension have no morals beyond let's make all the fucking money, let's make as much profit as we can, and let's these companies don't have a moral compass per se, but what they can do is they can reach out to certain people from certain groups and basically put them front and center and make them human lightning rods, so they can say like, oh, but look, we've got this person here. Aren't we great? Aren't we diverse? Aren't we progressive? No, you're a fucking corporation, frankly. I'm sick and tired of this kind of woke capitalist trend where actually, in my opinion, it uses people from marginalized communities rather than empowers them, and it puts them in terrible positions. That is what has happened to Ferociously Steph, in my opinion, actually. She was very ill-equipped to deal with this level of public scrutiny. She wasn't advised of the new level of scrutiny she was going to get, and unfortunately, as a result of that, she's engaged in a bunch of behavior that's got her a lot of criticism and a lot of negative attention. And some of the comments I have seen, while there's a lot of valid criticism there, some of the comments have been absolutely reprehensible. But let's give you a quick history lesson. Why Ferociously Steph kind of blew up and came on everyone's radar as soon as this was announced. There was a reason why she was kind of singled out, and that was the argument she had made going back to 2017 about in-game voice chat. It's her belief that marginalized people and people from minority groups in the gaming sphere are subject to more harassment and vitriol when they talk on the microphone, and as a result of that, it impedes their ability to compete. So she would like to remove voice chat from all of gaming. In fact, I don't want to misrepresent her arguments, so here she is in her own words.
The only way to have a level playing field at the highest level of play is to have is to not have voice chat, to not have people give up their linguistic profiles. I mean, and maybe you think, you know, if you are a competitive gamer, which a lot of people have been like, Steph, you clearly know nothing about competitive play. Well, competition, by the way, y'all, competition requires you to get every advantage possible. To become the top 0.01% in any video game, you have to squeeze every amount of advantage you can possibly get. Voice chat is unfair. Period.
You can also see here she doubled down on that line of thinking publicly. She went on Twitter to say, "Oh yeah, a whole lot of people with cis white male voices thinking voice chat is critical to competitive games being competitive. Tell me more about how we'll solve systemic misogyny and everything will be fine, lol. Not saying you can't use voice chat with your friends or your pre-made. It hurts randoms in pickup matches." So obviously there's lots of grounds we can discredit that argument. That's not what this video is here to do. I think the perspective that Steph is offering isn't necessarily somebody that's been in a team or a league or a, hermetically kind of sealed environment. Think like LCS for League of Legends, where none of these things would matter. She's talking purely about the almost public competitive experience, what you do as sort of a casual player or a competitive player that is maybe aspiring to be a pro. So it's kind of a little bit out of sync with my worldview, my experience coming from an esports background. So this got her a lot of negative attention. I just want to say that while the point we should remove voice chat from competitive games to because we need to make the game more competitive in and of itself without that, and it hinders these groups, is a very silly and asinine argument, sort of very reminiscent of the the old adage about censorship is like stopping a man from eating a steak because a baby can't chew it. That's essentially what we've got going on there. But I will also add, in my opinion, she actually does have a point. And I think for casual play, I think having non-verbal means of communication are hugely important. I've obviously got a lot of trans friends, and one of the things that fills them with anxiety and dread is speaking on a microphone and their voice not aligning with how they present or how they identify, and the mockery and ridicule they will receive as a result of that. And I don't think that's a particularly pleasant experience, and I'm hugely empathetic towards it. It's the same for girls that have just feminine voices, traditionally feminine voices, and when they speak on the microphone, a bunch of guys might say some misogynistic shit, and that's not particularly pleasant. And I know, actually, you would think, well, this doesn't really go on. I've seen a lot of voice chat clips just recently on social media of women competitors saying, like, listen to this, and it's some sad, tragic, fucked up incel telling them to go back in the kitchen and make him a sandwich because they're bottom fragging or something stupid like that. And I totally understand that that's not pleasant. It would put you off playing if that was your day-to-day experience. So having things like ping systems and other non-verbal means, non-voice chat means, are a tool to sort of circumnavigate that potential harassment. And I think she makes actually a very good point in saying there should be more of those systems in games. I fully support what she says there. What I think is ridiculous as an esports aficionado is saying we should just get rid of voice chat altogether. Unfortunately, that's going to limit the overall skill ceiling, and communication is a skill in and of itself. So all the negative attention she got for this was pretty ridiculous within a broader context. That opinion shouldn't preclude her from being on a Twitch Safety Council, in my opinion. And what comes next is what I take umbrage with, is what I have a problem with. And that is that when people started going a little bit too far with the criticism, or sometimes not too far, just saying that's a fucking stupid and asinine point, she then started wrapping it up into this divisive, you're a white cis male, what would you know? And then it became, you white cis males, you don't know anything, to, I think a lot of gamers are white supremacists. You can listen to that for yourself.
No, I'm just not cool with white supremacy, y'all. It's really not that. I think a lot of you gamers are actually white supremacists. Sorry. Just a fact of how I feel, which isn't a big...
Now, I think, first of all, I don't like it when we start sort of pigeonholing people and saying, your opinion and perspective isn't valid because you belong to this group. Although I think there's an element of truth in it, that maybe somebody who is a white cis male might not have an understanding or a comprehension of what it's like to not be one. Obviously. Equally, I think the idea that just by virtue of being white, cis, and male, an opinion about voice chat is invalid is equally ridiculous and is equally destructive to the conversation. I think if you're going to be a council member and represent something that is there for the safety of everybody, when you start being divisive like that, I think it's hugely negative. And I gave this example on the Raj Royale podcast recently. I think, imagine a world where, I knew Steph, and I wanted to bring something up and trust she would represent my interests as a fellow streamer in her capacity as a council member. Well, now it's in the back of my mind, because I'm a white cis male, that maybe she wouldn't actually want to represent me. Maybe there's something there where she's a little bit resentful towards me because of my status. So that's not good. You shouldn't be encouraging people to say things like that publicly if they are in roles that represent, fundamentally there to represent everybody. Then the second part of that, this idea that there is a hardcore enclave where lots, her words, lots of gamers are white supremacists, is perhaps the most absurd, ridiculous notion I've ever seen. And I think when you get to that kind of like Red Scare, Red Menace mindset, you know, is there a Nazi under your bed? I think when you get to that point, you lose a lot of perspective and you lose the room, frankly. I think... while nobody is denying that there are white nationalist groups still, operating in America and operating around the world, and indeed we know that sometimes they do use online recruitment methods, the idea that this is some sort of like huge problem within gaming, there's just no data or evidence for that whatsoever. And it shows this, again, this need to be pushing back against people who just want to play video games, who might think your ideas about voice chat are a little bit silly. And your primary role as a council member is going to be pretty mundane stuff, actually. You're not going to be battling the Nazis. You know, it's not the D-Day landings. You're just going to be discussing policies and things like this. Unfortunately, in her mind, she had built it up to be something entirely greater than what it actually is, and said a lot of embarrassing stuff, and a lot of stuff that really turns me off the idea of the Safety Council, and I'm sure turned a lot of people off the idea of the Safety Council. You know, I don't need to be pigeonholed because of my immutable qualities. I also don't need it implied that because I'm a gamer, I may be a secret Nazi. I don't think this helps anybody in building bridges between marginalized communities and communities that are more well represented, and bridging gaps and differences and creating a more empathetic landscape. After the white supremacist debacle and the clips kind of blew up online, Ferociously Steph did offer something of an apology, but you will notice it is a classic non-apology. She said, I have never and will never say most gamers are white supremacists. White men have the most privilege when it comes to voice chat communication. This statement has riled up more than a few white supremacists. Remember, having privilege does not invalidate your hardships. There are problems with voice chat. Let's talk about how to make the playing field more level. I'm not coming to steal voice chat from you. I was arguing against an impending reckless implementation. And she also adds, if a lot and most are the same thing, why do you keep misquoting me? There's a lot of white supremacists in my comments and DMs right now, by the way. Now, this is what I mean. So, the idea that it's okay to sort of intimate a significant portion of a group are white supremacists with no evidence whatsoever, just based on your gut feeling, and then you go, but I didn't say all. I didn't say most. I said a lot. That is not a valid apology. Equally as well, the sort of this nonsensical approach that the people who were criticizing her are white supremacists, that there was a lot of white supremacists. I saw no evidence of anyone publicly criticizing her that I would consider to be a white supremacist. And then you start getting into this idea, well, if you're fabricating these things in your mind, if you are making negative assumptions about people's statuses based on them criticizing you, again, are you really fit? Are you really suitable to operate in a what is essentially a public-facing role? Now, the story doesn't end there, and one aspect that didn't get picked up on publicly for some reason, I have no idea, because I think this is perhaps the biggest deal. This should be the sort of the end of her tenure on the council, in my opinion, just based on this comment, was there was a clip of her saying, all cops are bastards.
Because all cops are bastards, Victor?
Now, I'm sure you've heard this before. It's abbreviated to ACAB. It's become sort of a commie, LARPer, Antifa slogan. This idea that all police are inherently bad within our society, in particular in America, all cops are bastards. And it's usually used as a slogan in conjunction with justifications of violence towards police officers. Now, I'll just say this. I think there are some insane problems with American policing and how they have like almost military levels of weaponry and training, and they have to police a citizenry that when you're not in a war zone. I think there are definitely some healthy discussions to be had about the way the American police force can better serve its citizens. Absolutely. But I think, again, it is an asinine, ridiculous, childish point to assume all cops are inherently bad. And I think when you have someone on a Twitch as a Twitch council member saying all cops are bastards, you might want to look at the fact that some of the people that stream on your platform are police officers. And let me also tell you of a time when you certainly didn't think all cops were bastards over at Twitch, and that was the time that there was a incident, a shooting threat that was happening over at your offices. This was it reported in The Verge. You can see this is back in August of last year. A shooting threat sends police to Twitch headquarters, and there was no active threat, but the police responded quickly. Obviously, I've got a lot of friends over at Twitch. I was gravely concerned, and the police reacted very quickly, very efficiently, and there was nothing. There was no one hurt, no one harmed, and everything seemed to be neutralized pretty quickly. But obviously, this is a realistic worry in American society, that you are going to have these spree shootings. And I think, again, there is something inherently wrong with a company that has been the beneficiary of fantastic police work to sort of endorse somebody that says all cops are bastards. I think you need to have a long, hard look at this and decide whether or not that is a statement you as a company are comfortable standing alongside. Anyway, fast forward a few days and you can see the Safety Advisory Council had its first meeting today. I'm honoured to be part of the team, very glad to bring my voice and perspective to the council. It's been a hectic few days. I made comments that were taken out of context and sensationalised that did not represent my role at Twitch. I am not Twitch staff. I understand how what I said was misinterpreted and will continue to iterate on my communication to leave less room for misunderstanding. Now, this apology, based on what she was saying at the time, seems absolutely ridiculous, because she said very clearly that she had power, that she could wield power, people should be afraid of her, and nobody could take this power away from her.
But I'm hanging in there, and I'm not going anywhere. I have power. They can't take it away from me. And honestly, you know, There are some people that should be afraid of me, and that they are, because I represent moderation and diversity, and I'm gonna come for hurtful, harmful people. If you're a really shitty person, I'm gonna stand up against you. Period. And Twitch is endorsing me to do that, so you better watch out, because I'm pretty cool. And you can't get rid of me. Twitch is endorsing me, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm just gonna dance to your sad tears. I'm just gonna drink your tears. Num 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 num, bum 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 bum. You better watch out.
These things here are the root cause of kind of the delusions of grandeur she underwent, the outrageous things she said and knew she wouldn't face any consequences for them, and just overall this steadfast refusal to just offer a simple apology along the lines of, yes, I said some things that were a little bit of a generalization, and I understand how they could have isolated certain members of the gaming community. I apologize for that, and I will aim to do better in future. That's literally all you have to say. But what you'll find is these people will not swallow their pride. People who power trip over just being given little breadcrumbs of power to potentially abuse will never admit when they're wrong, and they will never apologize, and don't even believe that they absolutely had to. She goes on to say, I'm empowered to have a voice, a platform, and a community, despite a deluge of harassment. We're back to me as the victim being the talking point. I can exist and will continue to. Nobody has said otherwise. No one's called for you to be deplatformed. No one's called for anything like that. They've simply said maybe you shouldn't be on this council because of all the negative attention you have brought to the council. I want to be clear that my role is not to moderate or address specific streamers or incidents. I'll be offering my perspective and advice on issues, challenges, products, policies more broadly, and I'm excited to bring my voice to the table. I've always fought for diversity and marginalized communities. I will continue to do this on the council and use my voice to advocate for and empathize with communities that are often silenced. I believe in the Safety Advisory Council's mission, and I can bring a valuable perspective to it, so I'm glad that Twitch wants to address some of the issues we see in the community. I am proud to be one of many voices that will contribute to us collectively having real impact here. Now, of course, not everyone on the council felt particularly good about this. You'll notice that there's a clip here from another council member basically saying that they want the end product to be good policies being brought in, and then and only then will there have been a positive impact.
Just being on this council means nothing. What's going to mean something is if tangible change comes from this council. So yeah, and I'm really hoping it will. I gotta say, I'm already really concerned because, you know, and this is all I'm going to say about it. There's already a lot of negative PR about this council for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with the council. And I really hope the council's paying attention to that. And I hope they're going to do what they need to do to rectify that. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
So, how does this story end? Well, as expected, Twitch basically say, listen, you're all assholes, and we were right the whole time. Nothing bad occurred here, despite all of the negative statements and negative attention. You can see last week, and this is, by the way, from Emmett, the Twitch CEO, who famously said publicly that when it came to bans, context mattered. And yet, since then, if anything, we've had more bans on Twitch that have been so divorced from any contextual understanding because of their just outrageous, over-the-top views. But anyway, last week, we announced the formation of our Safety Advisory Council, a group of online safety experts and Twitch creators we brought together to advise on issues related to trust and safety at Twitch. We've since seen a lot of discussion and questions, as well as some concerns, and I want to provide some clarity to help everyone understand our thinking about the council's role. The role of the council is to advise, to offer perspective, and participate in discussions with our internal teams pertaining to the work we do to keep our community safe and healthy. We made an intentional choice to recruit advisors with strong independent opinions, like all police officers are bastards, and the courage to challenge our thinking. Our goal is to hear a wide range of points of view informed by truly different people within Twitch and outside Twitch, because a position on the council is not a test of ideology or an endorsement by Twitch on a specific viewpoint. We expect that members of the council will sometimes have very different viewpoints from each other, from Twitch staff members, or from the official Twitch policy. We recognize that hearing from a diverse set of voices is valuable when crafting products and policies to serve our entire community. Now, this again is just absurd. You can't have your cake and eat it like this when you're a big corporation. You are giving these people an inflated status in a role you have specifically created. You are giving them input into how you craft policies, so you cannot simply say, well, they said some fucking crazy shit, but we don't stand with that crazy shit, but we are going to listen to them on the non-crazy shit. No, absolutely not. You don't get to do that. Nobody gets to do that. I don't get to do that. I don't get to say things that are against Twitch TOS and then turn around and go, well, listen, I just have a robust, different opinion to you at Twitch. And obviously, it's clear you don't endorse those viewpoints, so continue to platform me, please. No, I would get banned if I said anything against Twitch TOS, whether I believed it or not. And we know contextually you throw bans out for absurd reasons. Even when you mishear words, you ban people because the word sounded like a bad word. So you then don't get to do the inverse and say, yeah, she said all cops are bastards. Yeah, she said most gamers, our key customer consumer audience, there's a significant portion of them that are neo-Nazis. Don't worry about it, though. It's perfectly fine. We don't endorse that. We just endorse her. No. No. You set the rules, corporate America, not me. You set the rules. You must abide by those rules. And everyone that is pissed off at this level of hypocrisy and wants to fire fucking criticism at you as a result of this is absolutely justified in doing so. We said in our blog post we were looking for the council to advise on a variety of things, from advising on new policies to promoting healthy streaming habits, but we could have been clearer about tasks the council will not be involved with. Council members will not make moderation decisions, nor will they have access to any details on specific moderation cases. They are not Twitch employees. They do not speak on Twitch's behalf. While we value their opinions and the right to share them, they are independent actors who will have opinions that aren't shared either by Twitch, Twitch employees, or even by other members of the council. Nevertheless, we believe that having diverse viewpoints will make the council and its recommendations stronger and ultimately better for our community. All participants care deeply about the Twitch community and want to help make it a better place. It's a commitment of time and energy from them, and we're grateful for the contribution that helps improve Twitch policy. This is where I love this, just how it always gets to this. Harassment directed at council members or anyone at or on Twitch only underscores the importance of the council. We do not condone bullying or harassment of any kind, and will continue to take action against the council engaged in that behavior. So in other words, all the crazy shit she said that generated criticism is in and of itself proof that we needed the council and we needed her to say all that crazy shit. It's just such a ridiculous premise that there wasn't a world actually where Ferociously Steph could have just not said this stuff, could have just not tried to be divisive and tried to flaunt her power and been antagonistic to the core community. No, she's absolved of any responsibility whatsoever, and actually the people criticizing her are the bad guys and proof that we were right to appoint her to the council in the first place. That is, in a nutshell, just classic Twitch, classic woke capitalism at work, and classic corporate America, dare I say it. So I think overall, we should have predicted this outcome. Nothing was going to happen. There was never going to be any action. She was never likely to be dropped from the council. The optics for that would have been terrible. But it does beg the question, having isolated so many people in her role, about her suitability and why Twitch sort of haven't addressed that elephant in the room. I honestly thought the sensible policy here is just to say, listen, you're clearly not ready for this type of power, this type of influence, this type of role. You might be one day, but not now, and we will come back to you, and we will certainly consider you. And that just seems to be the way that this should have been handled. So those are my thoughts about that absolute Twitch Safety Council mess. Hopefully it was about as concise as I could possibly make it. It was a bit of a shit show. And as always, I want to thank everybody that subscribed to the channel. If you're new, please think about throwing a subscribe if you like having the news brought to you in this kind of fashion. Stick a comment down there. Let me know what you think about the whole debacle. Keep it pleasant, please. And much love to all of you. I will see you on the next video. Until then, take care.